Welcome back. You're watching The Market, and as I look at the screen, cuts of about 0.5% or a little bit more than 0.5% for the benchmark indices, Nifty hovering above the 17,500 mark. But let's get a check on the logistics sector. Lots happening, in fact, a few challenges, hopefully a few bright signs for the sector as a whole. But we're in conversation with Chander Agarwal, who's the Managing Director of TCI Express. Thank you so much, Chander, for taking the time. You operate across a few key verticals, and I'm looking at it. It's automobiles, it's pharmaceuticals, also the retail and e-commerce space. Could you take us through how these are operating right now? One would think that in certain spaces there is pent-up demand, and one would also assume that in few others, things have not been disrupted to the extent that others have. So how does it look right now?
The main sectors that you look at in manufacturing, the verticals that we are in, the auto components, electrical engineering, textiles, pharmaceuticals, all of them are doing really well. They have picked up, and these sectors are not so much in the pent-up demand scenario. This is like these sectors are more of the regular consumption that goes on in the country. So we have seen a very strong growth in the month of September. And this, I think, is just a starting point for the remainder of the year. We have bypassed that pent-up demand scenario. And also, with the chip shortage, with the vehicles that's coming up and all of that, we've kind of like we will not be affected as much because we are not moving the automobiles, but the spare parts. So in all, I think it's a good progressive way forward, and things will be much better as the months go by.
But Chander, talk to us about capacity utilization. One would assume heading into the festive season, this would be one of the busiest periods, at least for the retail e-commerce space. How are utilization levels right now?
So the real benefit of the Diwali festival in November will show this month, and we again aim to, of course, be back at the March levels at about 87%. And, we are not so much in e-commerce. It's only a very small percentage of our business. And we are seeing that the B2B growth is phenomenal, what's happening. And in fact, I would like to reinstate that we would possibly be doing better than March in this month in our business.
Sure. Chander, hi, morning. Aisha as well joining in. Logistics prices have gone up globally. Shipping costs as well are rising. We all know that. Fuel price hikes as well have been undertaken. How much of this has already been passed through at your end?
Right. So global shipping container rates, they're actually a big mess, I must admit. And, thankfully that segment is something that we're not dealing with directly or indirectly. So we're kind of like safe from that entire cycle. In domestically, the way the prices have gone up, we've been able to pass on to our clients, almost half of that. So our numbers will already show that in when we have the board meeting coming up, and we've managed that quite well. So express logistics being the way it is, the passover to the customer is much faster, and of course it depends on the company how they want to approach it.
Sure. Globally as well, there are many challenges like shortages for truckers. Do you actually see a similar challenge here as well, and in turn would lead to perhaps a gap between demand and supply and lead to a mismatch?
So, the UK market is a very small market. It's like, I think we've also surpassed the GDP now. and our logistics cost is like almost 15%, maybe double of theirs. Our truck supplier and our population is like way too high from what UK has. So if you look at the UK, I'm not sure, they possibly have only 200 or 300,000 truck drivers. India, we have 80 lakh truck drivers. So we will not see any shortage anytime soon, going forward. And it's just that somehow the international logistics challenges are much different from the ones that we have domestically. And we have to also look at the size and scale of the market that each country is operating to really understand the differences. But saying that, I do not see any of those influences trickling down to India.
Chandar, could you could you talk to us about the SME segment? Is that something that is picking up now? As we understand it, some of them got hit pretty hard by the pandemic, both waves of it, in fact. Are you seeing improvement in terms of the volume in that space?
The first type of manufacturing that opened up during the first lockdown in 2020 were actually the SMEs. The large manufacturing companies were still, under lockdown, and they were still ramping up their production. They were still getting their raw materials sorted out. But these guys were up. Those guys actually were in a better space. And the SME segment that we are in, that is far more, stable than compared to the SME segment that deals in cash, because we are not in that segment at all. And in fact, in that same breath, we opened about 25 to 30 more branches last year. And that is still on the annual. We're going to be opening about 50 branches this year. So an SME is like pretty much the foundation for opening these branches. As long as we are opening branches, I know that the SMEs are going to be in a good position.
Chandar, also, so you mentioned that e-commerce not very big, therefore B2C. I'm just trying to understand what's the mix right now between B2B, B2C, and where do you expect that to go? Do you expect that B2B will continue for the foreseeable future to be the prominent business?
Absolutely. B2B is going to be $1 trillion business opportunity in time to come. B2B logistics. I'll explain you how. If by 2030, that is 2030, we'll expect a GDP of at least $10 trillion, and 10% of that as logistics cost. I'm discounting the fact that it's 15% now. 10% of that is about $1 trillion. And if you look at the data, 60% of that is road cargo. Sorry, 70% is road trucking. So we're talking about $700 billion worth of opportunity. What is the B2C opportunity? It's not even accounted for. They look at the GMV and they take that as a point of reference, which I think is very incorrect. However, if you look at the retail industry in India, it's close to about maybe $500 billion. In 10 years, it could possibly be maybe almost $1 trillion. And if that happens, how much of that would be B2C is very hard to say. The kind of opportunity that B2C holds may sound very large, but the cost of operations and cost of doing business in India for B2C is not at all scalable or profitable.